Hello, hello. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 more minutes as we wait for folks to come on into the Zoom room. This is a good time to grab that water, maybe take a break, get your stretching in, and I thank you for being present. So it's currently 12:29. We're going to start at roughly maybe 12:32, 12:33. Thank you so much. All right, good people. Good afternoon. Thank you for spending 30 minutes of your precious Friday time with me. Thank you, Melissa. So glad that you're here. Hi, all. I'm Simone Cottrell. You're going to hear my name 8 million times because I don't want you to forget it. New things are happening at Mac as of October, and I'm one of those new things. So it's a little bit of learning for me and probably retelling for y'all if you're not familiar, if you are familiar with the Mississippi artist roster program. So let's just go ahead and get started. And just so you know, this is being recorded. For folks who are not able to be here, or if you need a reminder, this recording will be attached to the Mississippi Arts Commission YouTube as well as the application, hopefully starting next week. So let's just get into it and share the presentation today. This is going to be quite a bit of information, so if you need this presentation in PDF form, by all means, please let me know and I will get it to you. And so again, I'm Simone Cottrell. I'm the Special Initiatives Director as of October 2025, last year. And I have been given the honor and the duty to take over the Mississippi Artist Roster Program, and I take that job pretty seriously, and we're going to actually talk about it a little bit later, what's going on, because I like to be transparent. But if you need, for whatever reason, to take a screenshot, this is the best way to get a hold of me. We are here to help and serve you at any time, so please don't feel shy about picking up that phone or sending us an email, and give us about 24 hours to respond back. So let's get into it. This is what we're going to expect for the next 30 to 35 minutes. I tend to be a little verbose when I get excited, and I'm always excited when it comes to talking about the arts. So thank you for your patience. We're going to do some just brief introductions about who I am, what I'll be doing in this position, and what the Mississippi Artist roster is and how it's shaping up right now. We're going to really hopefully hone in on some key points of the program, as well as key points of the application to help you like really make your application as strong as it can be. Then we'll take a look at the actual application and answer any questions that you may have. You should have access to a Q&A box, but as Melissa has pointed out, you also have access to the chat box, and you can send me a question at any time. If I happen to answer your question as I'm rambling on, if you could go back to that question and say, hey, you answered it, so I can move on and answer other things. All right. For those who do not know what the Mississippi Arts Commission is, we are the official grants making and service agency for the arts in the state of Mississippi. MAC is funded annually through the Mississippi Legislature, the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as private funds. Our mission is to foster creativity that enhances the quality of life in Mississippi communities through statewide investment in the arts. And for whatever reason, let's just say you lose all my contact information, or you have just like the biggest random question and you don't know who to address it to, this is our general contact information right here. Anytime between the hours of 8 and 5, someone will pick up at this line and they will be able to help navigate you to the best person on our team to answer your question. We keep our website pretty updated as best as possible, and we'll talk about that later. But we're also on the socials. If you are a person who lives in the social sphere in the digital age, you can find us on Instagram as well as Facebook. And again, we're on YouTube with a lot more videos. All right. Again, my name is Simone Cottrell, Special Initiatives Director, a really new position, and part of my duties is to take a look at the Mississippi Artist roster and figure out how to really make this a robust program to serve Mississippi's creatives, and I'm taking like a 3-year look at everything to make sure we get the right data, and if you're selected to be on the artist roster, I will be contacting you to learn about your artistry, what support you need. I come to this position with, oh my gosh, a little over 20 years of experience as an artist, as an arts administrator, and as a researcher, and how I like to sum that up is very chicly. Cultural strategist, community storyteller, Deep South creative. I did graduate from Mississippi State, 2008, Go Bulldogs, and I'm currently a board member of the National Cambodian Heritage Museum out of Chicago, and recently joined the Mississippi Museum of Art as part of their Community Arts Council. And so when I say I've done everything in the arts, I really have at this point, because I really believe, like my ethos, the hill that I will die on is that I believe that arts are for everyone to participate in, and artists are like so precious to me, and I want to just care for you all. And so part of my artistry has been doing theater education, devising theater specifically, and that moved into social practice. My last large project was with Phillips County, Arkansas, addressing water issues there through theater. I've designed public art. I have been a mover and dancer with, oh my gosh, please forgive me. The work was called Perihi. Jonathan Gonzalez, he was recently selected by the Whitney Biennial to do his movement. So I was really excited for that project. I've also got a background in research and grants, curating, and like the coolest thing I've probably ever done was as a cultural researcher for the Smithsonian. So when I am not bored, I will pick up, I love studying about philanthrocapitalism, and currently studying for my LSATs to pursue art law. So I love chatting about the arts. I will never get bored about it. Okay, so For those who are not familiar, the Mississippi Arts Commission does have an artist roster, and that artist roster is made up of two rosters. There's the Mississippi Artist Roster, which we're talking about today, and then there's the Teaching Artist Roster. Those two rosters create the big artist roster. If you are applying or interested in the Teaching Artist Roster, the person you need to chat with is Charlotte Smelzer right here. If you are interested in applying and being for both, just know that one application does not serve the other. These are two totally different applications. We open up the dates and the deadlines are the same. If you want to do both, you have to do two separate applications. I believe Charlotte has already set up her webinars as well, so just give her a call or an email to see how you can be part of that. All right, so the Mississippi Artist Roster, I'm giving it some new language to hopefully capture the breadth of the creatives that we have here in Mississippi. So what the Mississippi Artist Roster is a program that gives professional designation and recognizes Mississippi-based professional artists' work and practice. Please notice that I put an asterisk next to professional artists. We're going to break that down a little bit more in the next slide. MAC provides a public listing of professional Mississippi artists who have been reviewed and approved by MAC staff. Professional artists selected for the roster represent Mississippi's arts and culture through their individual practices and chosen career paths. They are available to do performances, workshops, and other discipline-based presentations in a variety of settings. If you are selected to be on the artist roster, there is a 3-year commitment. There is no financial commitment. You don't have to pay a fee to be on the roster, and we don't pay you to be on the roster. There is some perks for being on the roster that does involve grant money, and we'll talk about that later. But essentially what this is that you send in your application. We look at your application internally. We're not sending this off to panelists to review. Everything is done in-house. Like I mentioned, I'm a working artist, and most of our staff here at MAC are working artists. So we have a pretty good eye on what's needed in the professional field from both the administrative and artistic lens. Those who are selected on the artist roster, it's like giving a big old green verification, or is it blue verification? I think it's blue on Instagram. Give our own verification that these artists can be trusted with clients to be hired and to do like the best of their field. Here we are. Okay, so who counts as a professional artist? We look at this in 3 different ways. First, the individual. Then an artistic group such as a band or an improv group, theater group, anything that has a collective of artists, as well as arts-based nonprofits. Any of those 3 can apply. Now, with that being said, I am very familiar that many individuals, especially in the music business, have multiple bands. When applying to the Mississippi Artist Roster, we're asking that if you are applying as an individual, please apply just as an individual. If you want your band or your group to be also on the artist roster, that will be a separate application due to like the many artists that are in that collective as opposed to one. Please remember separate applications. If you're interested in being a MAC teaching artist, I've already said it before, that requires a separate application. We also look at professional artists as those who are earning at least a part of their annual income or operating budget within their artistic discipline. They consider their artistic endeavors as a career, they maintain a high level of artistic quality, and make significant time investment in their artistic disciplines through practice, production, and public sharings. And I want to point out those last 2. Those, in summary, these are the type of folks who consider themselves like always a student and always wanting to go a little bit higher than they did like the year before or the production before. They are also in that special capability of being able to teach others. Like they've learned so much that they could like really take in other folks and teach them what they know. This is one of like kind of like the ideal kind of roster artist. We also want to make sure that you are, yes, indeed, living in Mississippi as a full-time resident. Like you pay your taxes here in the state. It does not mean that we're going to go knock on your door and physically check that you are here on any random day. If you happen to be one of those artists that travel and travel and travel, and that's what you do, cool. We just need to know that you do have a legal residence here in Mississippi. If we have any questions about that, we will ask for proof of residency. Same with a nonprofit. You've got to be registered in this state, please. Thank you. All right, so who isn't eligible? It's pretty short, but pretty significant. You can't be a full-time student. The only exception is, let's just say you're in one of those artistic groups, and the majority of the folks in that group are non-students, then we can consider that group as a whole, even with that one full-time student. Where there's not going to be any exceptions, and this is a change this year, you cannot be less than 18 years of age by June 1st or November 1st. This includes artistic groups with even one minor. So let's just say you've got a 17-year-old in your improv group, but everyone else is 22. I am sorry, you are not eligible at this time unless that minor is turning 18 by June 1st or November 1st. All right, so why would you want to be on the Mississippi Artist roster? Right now, there are 3 things to consider. Part of my research is hopefully providing more support to creatives and artists. But for right now, again, why would you want to be on this? It gives you the designation of by us at MAC that we trust your work, therefore others can trust your work to hire you out. We also create a public directory that we manage. It's on our website. At this time, we cannot act, or at this time or ever, mind you, sorry, don't want to create false hope. We can't act as your personal manager, and we are so sorry. So what that means is, like, if a potential client calls us and says, I want for you to tell us who your best public artist is, what I'm going to say is, hey client, we have this great directory. I would love for you to go there and search all our visual artists who can do that. So we want to talk about the Mississippi Artist roster as a whole and not choose favorites. Like, everyone's our favorite on the roster. So we also, and this is going back to like the one financial thing, perk of being on the roster. We have twice a year mini grant applications, and organizations can apply for mini grants to help cover a portion of an artist's fee. So if they end up selecting an artist from the artist roster as their application, that application would receive priority funding from MAC. Okay, let's talk about some big picture things just to keep in mind. This program is a little bit in flux. And one of the first things that has changed over is previous to this month, May, if you were interested in being on the artist roster, Mississippi Artist roster, you would have to call a program director that was within your discipline. That is no longer the case. I am your person now. You don't have to call 3 different people. It's just me. The next thing is that we are currently updating the artist roster. Right now, like literally right now, and for the last couple of months, I've been doing research and data points on learning about who our roster folks are, how they are reaching funding. If you are selected, again, I will be contacting you to participate in focus groups if you're interested in doing that, and just learning more about how arts and culture is for you in Mississippi and what things you would need. The next thing is we just were okayed, when I say we, MAC was just okayed by the legislature to receive funding to completely redo our website. We are currently in the auditing phase of our website, so I can't go in and change information. So this is me telling y'all, please, please, please pay close attention to the application. What the application states will not be the same as what our website page for the Mississippi Artist roster states. All right, speaking of those minor application updates, I've already done a quick audit. If you've done the application before and you go back in, you might notice that there are less questions as well as questions that have been reorganized because we love things that make sense and we want to put them together. We'll take a look at that in the next slide, I think in 2 slides after this. We also, because we are living in the age of generative AI, we are very curious as an agency as to how artists, creatives, and nonprofits are using generative AI, if at all. There will be a statement on your application, like at the top of the application, about what we're doing. At the bottom will be a certification. Will you let us know if you used generative AI at any capacity, and then sharing with us how you used it. This is not something that will count against you, and this will be on every grant moving forward for right now. We are just curious to know how it's being used. Okay. The next is a travel question. I'm learning in my data like how people, artists are being hired by cultural assets such as a museum through our grants. We're curious to know if you're willing to physically travel, but we're also curious to know if you have the ability to create Zoom offerings or YouTube offerings, thinking about when I say travel, using that as broadly as possible. The next one will be a licenses and certifications question. As artists and creatives are being pulled into more intersectional work, such as like creative placemaking, arts and health, things of that nature, if you are claiming to be like an arts therapist, we would love to be able to see your license for that, just to make sure that if we do select you for the roster, that the things that you're able to do with community that is quite sensitive can be backed up by certifications. All right. And the last, not least, and this has a lot to do with the website redesign, is that we have different picture requirements, and we will actually talk about that next. So there will be a section in the application where it says like what information you want to be forward facing in the directory. Due to our website and due to like trends in the arts and culture field, here's what we're needing. Just keep this in mind. Please send us an 800 by 800 pixel JPEG or PNG. Please have it be a color photo. Black and white doesn't read as well. It's very moody. It's very cool, but it doesn't read as well for our websites. Please no glossy headshot or an obvious selfie. If I am a client and I'm looking through the directory, it's very hard for me to realize what kind of artistry you do if you've got a lovely selfie, but I don't really see what you're actually doing. We now communicate in such a digital way that the picture has to read exactly what the story is. So what we're asking for is a clear photo of you within your discipline or a clear photo of your work. And that clear photo of your work is really primarily with visual artists. Almost everyone except for visual artists will need to have like the individual and something that shows the discipline in which you are proficient at. All right. Next up is we reorganize some of the questions. This is closer to the top of the application. So the first question you will see is, are you a folk artist? And folk artistry has a very, very wide definition. We have provided that definition for you in the application. But if you're still like, I don't know, maybe I am, maybe I'm not, rest assured, if you're unsure, please call me. We can talk it through. And if you choose yes or no and we look through it and go, this doesn't really fit the definition of folk, just know that we will also have that conversation regardless of your selection to the roster or not, but definitely if you are selected to the roster. Next, we are still moving forward with the 4 main disciplines that we currently have. This may change in the future, again, due to how many creatives and artists are taking on more than one discipline. Choose the discipline, artistic discipline, that is closest to your core work. So, for example, I consider myself a multidisciplinary artist. I work with a lot of different mediums when it comes to community, but at the core of my work, I do social practice theater, and everything else like literature, writing, visual arts kind of revolves around that core. So I would select performing arts. And then when it comes to the area of specialization, for right now, I would love for you to be hyper specific. We're not ready at this time to really showcase interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary specializations. So even though you can probably do a million things, what is that one thing that you are amazing at and really want to show off? So again, I would choose for question 2, performing arts, and then I would say area of specialization. I would say something like social practice theater, and in parentheses, theater of the oppressed, all ages. Probably a little more detailed than I needed, but here it is. So try to be hyper specific about what you do. Okay, I'm gonna take a water break real quick because talking makes me thirsty. Okay, so let's talk about more of the questions that you will find in that section of what you want to have seen in the public directory. And again, I'll show you in the application later. With the next 4 slides, I believe, it's not a requirement that you do this format, but I would strongly consider doing this format. 2 reasons. One, it helps me on the editing end if you are selected. 2, this is just good practice of what people, clients want to see very quickly. And it also reads well if you are, really into grants and going out for grants, that psychologically panelists want to see the same information over and over again because they tend to forget because they're reviewing like 80 applications. So when talking about your short bio and types of programs, consider listing out in bullet points if you can the top things that you know for sure you're really great at. I created a character named Jane Doe who's a writer, and this is what she's able to do. Notice that the bio right here is really, really short. People don't have a lot of time to read your entire life story. Hit them with like your highlights. This is maybe, I want to say 4 or 5 sentences long. And they reflect the work that she can actually do up here, including like any award recognitions that she may have. So consider like really thinking about bite-sized pieces of telling the world who you are. A little bit goes a long way. Okay, remember that psychology piece. We got Jane Doe. She can offer 4 things. The next question in the application are, what are the programs you offer? Dun, 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 there it is. So I just pulled out one. I said public readings of work. Notice that I only have, 3 sentences. Jane Doe has taken 15 years of public speaking. She can read and perform to numerous audiences in various settings. She's able to read her own material and be able to do book signings, and she can travel to the site as well as use video webinar settings. So if I were a client, I would go, wow, okay, this person really knows how to project. She knows how to speak well. This won't be an issue if I am working with a large audience. And they're probably most likely able to pivot should, I don't know, there be a water break at the site and no one's able to go visit the bookstore, but we can all get on video webinar settings. This is someone that is flexible and could probably do things on a dime, not a dime, I'm sorry, but be able to pivot quickly. Cool. Try doing that similar treatment to all the other programs that you offer. Just bite-sized pieces of what you do, why you do it, and what kind of capacities. Because the next thing up is your technical requirements. It can be referred to as your technical writer. What are all the things that you will need if you were selected by a client to do these programs? What are the things that you need in order for it to go well, for it to be successful for you? Jane Doe, no matter what items, whatever the client picks, will always need these items. And then she goes in with the programs to say, okay, for public readings, I'm going to need this. Please don't be shy about talking about those fees. In fact, I think it is a requirement. Talk about your money. What do you need? And so, as you can tell, the public readings would require a different fee versus a creative workshop with older adults. That's a totally different program. Be specific about what you need. Depending on your artistry, those four main components, there's disciplines. When you select the discipline that is central to your work, a work samples portion of the application will appear. So literary artists, work samples, it's not the same requirement as the film and media folks. So it varies depending on your discipline. Remember to emphasize the material you've already shared in your narratives. If you have shared that you are a social practice theater artist, then my material, my work samples would most likely be like a 5-minute video of a performance of the community that I've worked with. I may also provide like a couple of pages of the material that they wrote themselves and how we got there. Also consider, if you're really, really cool and slick about it, all those programs that you shared previously, you could consider like, let me show Jane Doe has a work sample that was really amazing with creative aging. Perhaps showing like a 5-minute video of the actual practice of one of the workshops that she did. All right, so let's take a look at this application. Let me find where it is. Okay, so if you're not familiar with that website already, arts.ms.gov/apply, you might want to go ahead and bookmark it. You're going to go back and forth quite a bit with it. And once you put that website into your browser, the first thing that you're going to see is this page. If you already have an account, great, you know how to do this. You go ahead and log in. If you need to create an account, you'll hit that button right there. Be mindful that we've got this column over here, this panel that also provides deadlines of other activities that are coming up that you could possibly be funded for, or know a friend that could possibly use some funding. So be mindful of that. And then let's go into the application, dear hearts. Let's see. Right there. Okay. All right, so this is what your application is going to look like. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 areas to fill out. The artist roster is exactly what we're talking about right here. If you need reminders of how to contact me, that generative AI statement is right there. We also asked who your legislative districts are because of how and who we're funded by. And if you don't know, you click those links to go find out. Then we have the artistic discipline overview that we talked about previously. That's what that looks like. I went ahead and selected performing artists so you can see what those work samples look like. See. Then you're going to have the area of uploads. Please have on you your artistic resume. This is not like your regular resume. We just want to know what your artist's work has been. I just want to emphasize this, that education, unless it's like very relevant to your artwork, it's not necessary. We understand that artists and creatives learn from various methods, and sometimes like academia is not one of them. So if that's not like something that's calling you to be placed on your resume, no worries. We really are just curious about your work and the history of work that you have, any skill sets that you'd like to share. Marketing and promotional materials, we want to see a history of how you put yourself out there, whether it's brochures, flyers, programs, screenshots of social media. That's more than just a simple post. How do you get your word out there? We also provide a second space for you if you just happen to run out of space here. Supplemental licenses and certifications would go here. And this is the area that I would probably talk the most about, which is the information for the roster artist website. I think that's backwards, artist roster website. All right, so I just want to point out artist name. If you go by a different name, your stage name, if you will, you would put that stage name there. anything that you want for the client to be able to find you. Here's a pro tip. Let's try not to use our personal numbers out there. Google does provide through Google Voice, like you can get a free number out there that could be used as your business number. So if you decide to put a phone number there, consider getting another number. Your artist email and an artist website. The things with the asterisks are required, the others are not. We talked about the profile image. You know what that looks like now. And all those items we have already covered, so I'm going to skip that. We have also talked about the technical requirements, aka a technical writer. We also want you to talk about how you do promote and market yourself. One of the things that we are looking for in folks being on the artist roster are folks who can communicate well with clients. How do you speak with clients? What does your business look like? How do you talk about your business? All right, work samples. Again, depending on your major discipline, the work samples are all going to look a little different. Pay attention to these bullet points in the descriptions. If you have any questions, please give me a call so we can work it out together to make sure you are sending in your best work samples. Last is the certification. We've got 2 certifications. The first is the AI statement. Make sure you please read. If any undisclosed use of AI, let's just say we definitely recognize that work sample that you added has like 6 fingers and not 5, and it's clearly like a telltale sign of AI, and you're like, no, I didn't use AI, well, we're gonna have to have a conversation. So just be honest about it. It's not gonna count against you, just be honest. And describe as to how you used generative AI. All right. The last certification is making sure that you are a legal resident of Mississippi, that you've responded honestly and completely to the application questions. And once you have read everything, everything's in, you'll simply type your name here, the date, and then you'll be ready to submit. Okay. And then let's go back here. All right, good people, this is the end of the MAC Artist Roster Program, Mississippi Artist Roster webinar. As a reminder, our deadline, applications are being accepted now through June 1st with the cutoff time at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's just say you get towards June 1st and you're like, man, I still don't know if I want to be on the Mississippi Artist Roster. It's okay. The second time that we will have this opportunity will be October 1st through November 1st. So you got plenty of time to work with me, figure out what's going on, and see if this is the right fit for you. Again, you can contact me here at any time. Give me about 24 hours to respond back. And at this time, I'm just going to open up the floor or the chat box for any questions that you may have. If you're, oh, great question. Okay, I'm going to read this out loud if that's okay. If your discipline is 2 out of the 4, would you do 2 separate applications? Ooh, that's a great question. I would say at this time, Melissa, I would choose your strongest artistry. I am definitely super aware that, again, I'm living proof. Super aware that many artists right now are having to diversify incomes and really stretching like their boundaries of, not boundaries, but expressing in multiple ways their artistry. But for right now, choose your strongest discipline and focus on that. Once I can get my data together and can prove that artists are moving in a different way, then we can open it up in a different, hopefully open up the roster in a different way. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you, Melissa. Next question. Thank you for all the questions. I love questions. I mentioned that there was a 3-year commitment. Would I need to live in Mississippi for the full 3 years? Yes. So it doesn't mean that you are like now bound to the state for the next 3 years. Okay, let's just say that you definitely got onto the roster for the next fiscal year 28, and you find out that you have the amazing opportunity to move to, like, I don't know, Barbados and be an artist there. Of course, you're not going to be able to predict that. I can't predict that. Just let us know, and then we will work to take you off the roster. But yes, it is a 3-year commitment. Okay, hopefully I answered your question. Any other questions or curiosities that you have? Amazing. Well, I'm going to stay on for the next like 3 minutes just in case anyone else wants to like kind of marinate on anything that I've said. I speak very quickly. If you need me to send you the PDF, just drop that email in the chat and I can send it to you. But other than that, I hope you have the most amazing weekend. Hopefully, you don't get rained on. Lots of arts are happening. We are now in festival season, so I hope that you take the time to enjoy your community and create something beautiful. Thank you so much, y'all. You got it, Asia. Yeah, of course. At any point, and this is for everybody, we here at MAC, all of our program directors, we are here to serve the public. At any point that you have questions about the application or the grants, yeah, we can set up a time to go over it with you. We can't do like the grant for you, but all of us have like expertise in reviewing grants for artists and can give you lots of pointers. So that's part of our work here to the public, is to make sure that artists are getting their money, whether it's from us or from someone else. But yeah, we're more than happy to take a look at it. You're so welcome. Yep. Uh-huh. Uh-uh. Cool. All right, good people. I am out. I'm going to go hydrate and go have some fun. All right. See you soon. And hopefully your application comes across my computer screen. All right. Bye, y'all.